Resistance to change is something you need to consider. It happens in every project because projects, they're about change. Resistance can show up in many forms. It could be open and people question, why are we doing this? It doesn't make sense. I'm not making this change. Or it could be hidden and nobody says anything until the time to go back to work and everybody uses the old routines. Let's face it, change is hard. So what should you do when you experience or see this type of resistance? First of all, don't dismiss it. That's the worst thing that you can do. Resistance can actually be quite helpful and it's very normal. Often people are afraid of change because maybe they're no longer going to be needed. Often in digitization or transformation types of initiatives where you're taking out manual steps and replacing them with digitized ones, people rightly are worried that they won't be needed anymore. It's not that the people won't be needed, it's that what they were doing is no longer needed. I think the best response in these instances is to share that people's work will change, but they'll be doing something that's higher value added and ultimately probably more interesting for them and for the company. But if you don't have the conversation, you won't have that opportunity to share that. Sometimes you need to enlist the support of their leadership team to reassure people that they're still very valued and very important. It's just that the job has to change so that we can accommodate new customers and new products. One way to approach this is with a learning attitude and ask, what are the reasons you think this might fail? A formal approach can help you here. Either use something called a failure modes and effect analysis or a risk assessment to have people document the ways that the change could fail. And that gives you the opportunity as a team to identify solutions that will work. And ultimately, people feel more a part of the solution and are more bought into making it work. You also could be, from this resistance, learning that you're not ready for implementation. Maybe you have some assumptions that training has been provided, or that you've thought through the ways the process can fail and address those, and maybe those assumptions are incorrect. So use this resistance as a way to check your own assumptions about whether you're ready for the change. And if needed, refine the requirements to meet whatever that resistance is pointing to. And then finally, view this as an opportunity to build support. Anytime you can have a dialogue, it opens up the listener and the speaker to share with one another and work towards a better future together. So use this as an opportunity that can help build buy-in rather than something that has to be steamrolled because people just need to get on board. If you think about the key ingredients to any change, they are known, and they are, number one, you have to have the vision for where are we going, because people won't leave the current state if they don't buy into or understand the vision of where you're going. People need to have the skills, whether that be training or that may be access to resources that can help them accommodate the change. There needs to be an incentive to change. Giving people a carrot to make that transition rather than a stick when they don't is always more effective. Your team will need access to resources, whether that be training materials or whether that be additional resources to help them transition. You know what's best for your change. Think through this as well. And you're going to need an action plan. That action plan will help people understand when it's going to hit them, what part they need to play, and enable you to stay on track with the goal of your timing and your milestones. If you have all of these things, you're going to have a better change. If you're missing any of them, for example, let's say you're missing the vision part of the change, people are going to be confused because they don't understand what's wrong with the current state. Why can't we just stay where we are? If you're missing the skills, then there's going to be anxiety because people will be worried, rightfully so, that they probably don't have what it takes to make that change and that they're going to get behind and they'll never catch up. If you don't have the right incentives, you'll have change, but it will be gradual. Be much better if they have the right incentive and people willingly move in the right direction. If they don't have the resources, then people are going to be frustrated. They're going to feel like all you're doing is adding on to their current work without taking anything off the plate or giving them the resources that they need to transition to the new state. And without an action plan, you're unlikely to have the other key elements taken care of: the skills, the incentive, the resources. So an action plan is a very important, critical factor to change. If you have all of these in place, you're much more likely to enable the organization to transition more smoothly. You'll always have problems. You'll always have things that come up that you have to deal with. Chances are, if you've thought through each of these ingredients, your change will be more effective, more long-lasting, more sustained, and ultimately provide more value to the organization.